Peace, everyone. Welcome to another Artivist Talks, number 11, with the legendary 2feathers. We're about to get it going. Yes. Let's see if we got this. Welcome. Yes, we
What's up,
got
brother?
it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, mic check. Sounding clear.
Okay. Yeah.
2feathers, 2feathers. What a special person for a special day. Not only is this International Women's Day, I heard your life path number is
Yes, it
11, and this is
is.
Artivist Talk number 11. I know you're big into the mathematics, the science, the stars, the moons. Forgive me if this, you know what I'm going to say. I feel like I met you in another dimension, and we're just here in this incarnation. You are a very, very special being. I felt like I've known you lifetimes. Not even, I always say
I
I'm
could
I'm
explain
I'm
why
vibrating
based
with
on our
you.
charts,
Oh
but
my Lord, let's go, let's go. Well, guys,
yeah.
we're gonna get it in, but first, before we start, let me do my best to introduce Miss Luciann 2feathers Berrios, a legend in her own right, not only a sound healer, a Reiki master, a lover of love, deeply, deeply into the astrological science, all forms of healing, sonic vibration, and just all around sensory love and a multidimensional being. I said, I'm believing she's from the Pleiades constellation. She is a channeler of, and just a real person. I knew when I met her and we vibed out through art and music that it was a connection that would bear so much fruit. And every conversation with 2feathers has been an insight. So we are honored to have 2feathers here. If I missed anything,
No,
please introduce yourself,
no, not at
2feathers.
all. Not
All
at all.
right.
I'm just so grateful to be here on such a poignant day, and it being the number 11 is just, it's the
Yeah.
universe doing its thing, and I'm just grateful to be, right? And to have
Mm.
met you and to be where I'm at and to be a space where other people can feel safe. Just really coming into my own feminine energy over the last
Mm.
4 decades of my life.
Mm. Happy belated to the
Thank you.
Pisces that are out
Thank you.
there. Let me
Mhm.
get the hearts up. We got big love for that.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, 2feathers, let's get right into it. We always start these interviews with one question about artivism. And for us at Creative Expressions, they know that hybrid word maybe from the civil rights era of art and activism. But at Creative Expressions, we like to say activism is activating our organism to its highest potential through action, through thoughts, through service, through energy, till we can overflow our
Mhm.
cups into building community and connection with others to be of service. But we got
Mhm.
to overflow into that. So activating our organism to its highest potential and then using art to do so. We believe everyone is an artist and a creative in their own right, in their own form of expression and creative expression. So we're going to start it off with, what does artivism mean to you and what are your artistic expressions?
Oh man, artivism to me is being being one, not just an observer of the self, right? Because we talk so much about observing the self, but it's really being an observer of what is happening around us in society and using our own innate talents to create a relationship with that, to speak on that.
Mhm.
And for me, poetry has always been that.
Mm, mm,
I've started, that was my first love
mm,
ever.
mm,
I started writing when I was like 9 or 10 years old.
mm,
And some of you may be too young to remember the Oklahoma City
mm,
bombing that
mm.
happened when I was around that age. And it's the first poem I can remember writing about that.
Wow. So
Yeah.
there was a form of activism from your first that inspired you to write. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I know you went on to publish and do more work with poetry, but poetry was the first
Yeah.
love. And keep taking us down the journey of this
Yeah.
artivism to you.
So
So it
poetry
started,
was
yeah.
my first love, really. And it was a
Mm,
tool, right, that I
mm,
used to navigate
mhm,
every experience that I had, right? It was sort of like
mhm,
a form of self reflection, therapy in a
mm,
way. right? To transmute a lot of the things I
Mm,
necessarily didn't even understand. And it's
mm,
still that, right? Every experience I've had, I feel like I gain more and more insight into myself and the gems or the wisdom I'm taking from these things as I write through
mhm,
my experiences. So about when I was like 30, I met my beloved and late friend, Steve
mm,
Cannon, and he was my
mm,
mentor. I volunteered for him for 5 years. He was blind and he
mm,
was an English professor, and he ran a nonprofit for writers and artists in the Lower East Side called the Gathering of the Tribe. So please look them up
mhm,
and support that work and that he does for so many,
mhm,
especially on the multicultural. He was really big about giving voices to people that didn't necessarily have voices
mm,
in a
mhm,
predominantly white maled writing
mhm,
society, right?
mhm,
And he really, I never shared my stuff outside of my circle beforehand.
mhm,
And the deal that he said, he was like, yeah, you could come volunteer for me, but you have to read me your stuff every week. And I was like, oh shit, okay,
mm,
and I did. And he was like, you have to publish this. And so
mm,
he helped me do that and walked me through the entire publishing process. And after my first book, I was, I understood how to do it for myself, but I still felt like there were so many Black and Hispanic women or Black and Brown women that weren't necessarily having their voices heard either. So
mhm,
I was inspired to put together a collection of Black and Brown women in non-binary artistry in 2018. And
mhm,
from going to poetry readings, just hearing genius, right, all around.
mm,
And I came up with a group of women that trusted me in the vision, and we put together Women of Eve's Garden. And
mm,
that made its way, thank you. And it was released during Women's History Month, and
mhm,
it made its way into the U.S. Library of Congress, and it was also one of the featured writings that Steve supported in the Whitney Museum. Yeah.
mhm. Wow, so the love of words, I want to expand on that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Words, frequency, tones, and sounds, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
already seeing
Mm-hmm.
how this is going to connect to your journey within the world of sound healing and Reiki. Even though these are more
Mm-hmm.
newer expressions, we can see it's rooted in your foundation, right?
Yes.
Once again, I call you an intergalactic, multidimensional being with the sincerest of love, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to go there with you because I got you here, and I know how our conversations go, whether it's by the river or by the trees, where
Mm-hmm.
we're always whispering to the birds and things. I want you to talk about the form of the human, right? And our purpose, because the other part of activism is of service. You're a very community minded woman. You are
Mm-hmm.
always taking your work and doing something, even from the beginning. That's such a beautiful story. When you were a child, there was
Mm-hmm.
purpose. What are the ways you've been able to use the art to make these deeper connections to community and to serve? And how do you bridge these dimensions and worlds, as I call them? Because we still can be as out there as possible, but we gotta get our hands dirty and serve and do what
Of
we do.
course,
So
of
please,
course,
take that how you feel and just open the box on that and see where we can
of
take it.
course. And I think, for me, it took me a very long time to really find my voice and to not be afraid to use it,
Mhm,
right? And to speak on things. And now that I've found it, it's my duty, right,
mhm,
to ignite that in other people. And so part of what I've done, right, doing poetry workshops in lower income junior high schools and high schools, there
mhm,
are children walking around without tools on how
mhm,
to navigate the things that they're going through. And they're going through a lot. And
mhm,
some of the experiences I've had with that have been so profound, in some of the things that they've expressed, that you would have no idea that this
mhm.
person is walking around with this on their heart.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah.
And that's the beauty of like the written word. Right. And the way that I approach it, I don't like the idea of traditional workshop sense where I'm going to teach you parts of speech and this
Exactly.
and that. And like,
Yeah.
no, it is about freedom, and it is about
Yes. Come
freedom of
on.
expression. And that's exactly how I always approach it whenever I do a workshop,
Yes.
right? Because this is not about rules. This is about what is
Exactly.
in there
Woo!
in
Come on.
you, because there's somebody out there who
Mm-hmm.
needs to hear this,
Yes. Two
right? Who may
feathers.
be going
Yes.
through the same thing. And that's why I invite everybody watching this, or anybody who does end up watching it, right, to know
Mm-hmm.
that if there's something that you have alchemized, or even that you're walking through right now,
Mm-hmm.
to express it, because there is somebody else who is just starting that journey, or is in
Mm-hmm.
the thick of it and doesn't know what to do.
Come
And
on.
they're looking for you. They just haven't met you yet, but they're not going to meet you unless you put it out there, unless you speak your truth. So that's the power, right, in language, right, in this art form of poetry, right? We don't have to think about it like Shakespeare and whatever else, man. This is about real expression, like from the heart. What am I observing and experiencing? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's these common threads that we all experience, right? Whether it's heartbreak or loss or anger, right? I believe in sacred rage and all of these things. Like, somebody else needs to hear that it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to give themselves permission to experience it and to express it. And
I
so that's
love it.
part of what I always try to bring to the table whenever it comes to
Mm-hmm.
my poetry, right? There's a difference between provoking and evoking things. I'm not trying to
Mm.
provoke anyone.
Woo.
Evoking is speaking way more to the heart of humanity, like through the things that I write.
I love it. That's a deep empathic connection to emotion, to expression, and it shows in what you do. It's intent, right, y'all? You're using the same 26 letters, right? But yet
Mm-hmm.
somehow we're creating this. And I want to echo that sentiment you said. It's not about sounding deeper, all these literary devices, the metaphysical, medical, cynical, out to the
Yeah,
stars,
it
and that
doesn't even
that
have to
has some
rhyme. Like, who
hollow.
cares? Like, just,
Exactly.
you
Let
know.
it go. And I feel that's what it is, and that is totally the goal of creative expression, to allow a platform for people to express what's on their soul. And right, all these poems, art, music we create, they're all little
Mm-hmm.
snapshots of
Mm-hmm.
moments that
Mm-hmm.
have a unique character, that are no different than a photograph or a
That's it.
memory. That, like, I love how you said it is functional. Art is functional. This is beyond entertainment. This is true artivism, what you're speaking on, love. I love it. I am so thankful.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how you got into the astrology world. I know it's deep. Every time I talk to you, it's like asking for the forecast. You're like, Neptune's in the fifth. Because there's people who does this, and there's people who does this. I love talking to two feathers, because when you see someone who's so passionate about their craft, or about explaining source energy in whichever way, that's how I look. I do it
Mm-hmm.
through my jokes, through these things, through
Yeah.
through my sounds and how I do it. But I hear it in your expression, and thank you,
Yeah.
because your joint hits a little different, like
Thank
everybody,
you.
it,
Thank you.
it comes.
Thank
So
you.
how, tell us about that world, how you got into it, and
Hmm.
how it is still a form of your creative expression, and how you use that as a tool as well, because I know it's big in your
Absolutely.
work.
It started for me in high school a
Hmm.
long time ago.
Hmm.
I used to draw birth charts of people, but my understanding of it was still very
Okay.
basic 20 something years
Hmm.
ago, right? And I was just obsessed with horoscopes, right? But then
Hmm.
as I got older, and I met other people that were masters of this.
Hmm.
And the more and more I learned, it was just so fascinating to me to understand that the universe was always talking to you through
Yeah.
this energy, right? We understand that the moon affects tides, where in the most basic
Hmm.
sense, right? The moon affecting tides, we're made of water. If that's true,
Mm.
why wouldn't every other planet have some sort of energetic pull and affect us to some varying degree?
Mm.
Right. So
I love that
I
breakdown.
just hunkered down and started studying like my own chart, and
Hmm.
to try to understand myself. And right, the thing is that the learning is never done with it either.
Mm.
There's so many different
Talk,
forms
talk
of
to us.
astrology, whether it's tropical astrology or Vedic astrology, and you can
Hmm.
combine the two to create an even greater understanding of what your chart is specifically trying to say to you. And I find like some people are very like about it, but the thing is you're not locked in
Hmm.
to astrology. it's kind of like, look at it as like a blueprint, right? Like there are
Mm.
energies available to you, and everything has a higher and lower frequency, every particular transit or placement. So if you can understand the energies that are available to you, you have free will to decide how to use that energy,
Mm.
right? So that's where your free will exists. Like I could, based on some of my planets, I could either have control issues or I could be very dedicated when it comes to a creative process. So understanding that that's what I have, I can use it to the higher vibration of it, right? It
I
sort of
love it.
gives you, if you understand following the moon, which I learned from another astrologer, Shirley, which is amazing. I'll pass that information on if you guys want to follow her too. She taught me how to follow the moon, right, in our birth charts as
Mm.
it's transiting different houses. So if I'm following the moon, which changes every 2.5 days, I sort of know where my focus should be.
Wow.
Like if the moon is transiting my second house, I'm going to want to plant seeds, right? Moon plant seeds with the moon related to harvesting and farming. I'm going to want to plant seeds when it comes to money matters, to family things, to what I eat, um,
Mm.
right? To how I'm nurturing myself and self-worth, because that's a lot of what is involved in the second house in an astrology chart.
Hmm.
So if you can follow that, you can plan out your entire week or month
I
so that
love it.
you can work in alignment with the universe based on your particular chart.
I love it. I want to
Yeah.
reinforce the breakdown of energy and flow. I love how you use the moon as a great example to say that we are, as much as we are these beings, we are still physiological matter, which is dominantly water. And there's a Japanese, I think his name was Emamoto, I might be mispronouncing it, who did the Japanese water gallery exhibitions where he put water under the microscope,
Mm-hmm.
and then Emoto, pardon if I'm botching the name, he would say different things
Mm-hmm.
to it, and then the molecules would take different shape, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And they did this as a control theory where they yelled at one cup of
Mm-hmm.
water, they did this, and then when they put it all under it, the shapes look like everything from snowflakes to rigid or round things.
Mm-hmm.
And we are literally vibrating at a level at all
At all
times,
times.
and all vibrations are okay. That's another thing. You don't have to, like you said, punish yourself for being this or that, but if we can move in harmony to know, like, look, this isn't a good day for me to start a new business,
Exactly.
or this is a time for me to rest, and this is a time for me to actually
That's
take
right.
that
Like
leap of
the
faith.
moon is going to be
Yeah,
void later, right? So when the moon is void, rest. People think, oh, it's Friday. I'm going to go out. It's lit, whatever. But actually,
exactly.
the moon is going to be void. You should probably be resting.
And you know what's so, and this is why I say I'm like an idiot savant with it, because I always say, yo, I have my hood translation of it, because I see how my being, like, I'm going to these notes right now. This is F sharp right here, this is
Mm-hmm.
connected right above the heart chakra
Mm-hmm.
center,
That's right.
and I didn't look and say, oh, I'm going to this. I listen, I'm making certain sounds, right? We do it some days, we move slow, right? And these signs are present in our physiological body.
That's
I want
right.
to take this to the next part of your work, which is the sound healing. And
Yes.
I know that, once again, even though you started these mediums later, we're following the timeline, and I've heard and learned from you that you've gotten into this more recently. I still see this as a continuation and extension of the work that you've
Yeah.
always been called to do. And I
Yeah.
want to encourage other people, yo, allow your craft to lead you to these spaces and places. So please tell us how the sound work came into play with all
Yeah.
of
So
this.
the sound work thing came about when my mom was transitioning 6 years ago. She was diagnosed with cancer and liver failure,
Mm,
and so that time period was about 6 weeks. And you know, healing music, I was listening it to on it to it on my own for my own like meditative practices. So I
mhm,
figured to try it with her to try to help her relax and get some sleep. Um, and then she passed away. And then like a year and a half later, I had a miscarriage,
mm,
and sound healing was my saving grace
Mm,
from healing that experience and being in an abusive relationship. I really found sound healing to almost save sort of my life. I was
mm,
incredibly depressed. I had
mm,
insomnia for like a year. And it was sound healing where I could first feel my heart like cracking open again
mm,
to receive, and realizing that it had that effect on me. I wanted to understand why,
mhm,
right? What does it really do for the body?
mhm,
Um, and learn enough about it so that I could then give it to other people. If it
mm,
had worked for me,
mm,
then other people to deserve to try this as well. Like when we think about, our simplest form and why I think music is really it, right?
mhm,
If
mhm,
we go back to before, when we're little babies, right? When we're little babies, we don't know anything about anything,
mhm,
right? Before we can speak, we sing,
mhm.
right?
Yes, I
Right?
say that
Before
all
we
the time.
can
We're
walk, we
born making
dance.
music, yeah,
Right?
and we're
And
born
before
as
we
artists.
write, we bang
Woo,
percussion. Like music is at
woo.
the heart of
Talk to
so
him
much of
nice.
like who we are at our most natural state, right? I think we
Mm,
gravitate towards it, vibration in general, right? Because we understand it on a subconscious level. There's just sort of this knowing. And I think music is something that transcends, you know, like I said, language, borders, just what belief systems, whatever, right? Like music, and predominantly in Black and Brown communities, music is
mhm.
really part of such a big part of our communities and
Life,
how we
yeah.
relate to
Woo.
ourselves.
Mhm.
So I just find it to be
Yes.
such a beautiful way to bring people into a space, or
Mhm,
wellness spaces, we'll call them,
mhm,
that have predominantly been like westernized, right? That they may not necessarily feel comfortable going into because there aren't people that necessarily look like them or sound like them or feel like them. And so it's important for me to provide that as a Latina woman, right?
mhm,
So I studied with a number of people over the course of many months.
mhm,
Jackie Cantwell being one of them, who's part of the Deepak Chopra Global
mm,
Collective, and a
mhm,
number of sound therapists
mhm,
and recording artists. So the studying was intense, but it was integral for me to understand exactly what's going on, right, within the body when we're doing that. So what happens, right, is sound waves enter your vagus nerve, and we hear so
mhm,
much about the vagus nerve being
mhm,
important towards healing and relaxation, the body's relaxed response, right? So it
mhm.
travels not only just through the vagus nerve, but it has a vibrational tactile response. So it actually absorbs through your skin as well. It goes into every single cell in your
Mm,
body, right?
mm,
It goes into every single cell in your body. There's water in every single cell of your body. So if I put water into a sound bowl
mhm,
and did my thing with it, the water inside would start vibrating.
mhm,
That's what's happening inside every single cell of your body. Right. So what that's going to do is it's going to help balance the left and right side of your brain. It's going to, like I said, with your brain waves, it'll bring them more into balance. It'll affect your respiratory rate,
mm,
your heart rate. It reduces inflammation. It helps to release natural painkiller opiates that occur in the body already, right?
mm.
Which is that body's also your body's relaxed response. There's so much that sound healing can do to really be part of somebody's recovery process from illness. So we
Yes.
can revolutionize what um, somebody's path through dealing with some sort of ailment would look like beyond taking prescription pills and being kept in hospitals and all of that. We can incorporate these natural things that in my opinion, are more helpful and don't
Yes.
negatively impact other organ systems in the body.
That is so necessary. And right, I love how you pointed it back from birth.
Yeah.
That you said we sang before we talked, we danced before we walked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We all kids always draw and paint, right?
It's
Everything
art.
we do is a form of creative
That's
expression.
right.
You are literally born learning life through art.
That's right.
And it's because we're using our senses, right? We're hearing, so we make
Mm-hmm.
noises. We're
Mm-hmm.
learning to see, so we look at colors, shapes, and textures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
somehow in this, yeah, I'm gonna go there, two
Go
feathers. It's
ahead.
you, so we gotta go there. And somehow in this capitalist mode, shit, we lose all of this,
Because
right?
they
Me and
want
you
you
had
to
a
lose it. If you
yes,
lose it, you forget who you are.
and
Right? And
you
if
and
you
I had a
forget who
great
you are, you
conversation.
follow what
Mhm.
they who and what they tell you to be. Right? You're
Yes.
gonna tell me everybody that's stuck in an office punching numbers that's what they
Hmm.
dreamt about being as a kid. That's what I see when I look at
Yeah.
people, even at my own job,
Yes.
right? I'm just like, there's no way that
Yeah.
this is what you
This
dreamt
is what
about
your
doing.
destiny
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
purpose in life
Like
is, right?
it's
Yeah.
not. And they want you to forget because the more you forget who you are, which is a creator, right?
Facts.
The less
Facts.
you're going to recognize how sovereign you are and your own autonomy.
Mm. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
That is a real deep connection to
Mhm.
this form of living and existing and remembering what you were brought here to do. It really connected to purpose, what you said, because
Mhm.
we all had it, right? It's until we go through. I've always said this to myself, and we've gone over this in a couple talks.
Mhm.
A lot of this is we start as youth and then you learn, right? And when you know you're grown enough is when you have to start removing and
And
unlearning and taking
unlearning,
away.
yeah.
You've accumulated so much because you were born this way. You didn't have to go to music school or a dance class or that. It was always in you. And then when we get indoctrinated with a lot of these things and systems and way of thinking, like you said about the medicine,
Hmm.
like people are told, oh, you get sick, go this, pop this pill,
Yeah.
take this, go into these things when
Yeah.
healing could be achieved right through movement,
Yeah.
right through sound.
Like
And it
when I
always
was,
has
sorry,
been. Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
when I
but please
was
go on,
about
expand
30
on it.
years old as well, like really when I hit 30, there was like this tremendous shift in journey, like 29, 30, which is in alignment with like a Saturn return, right?
Hmm.
Saturn is lessons in karma, right? So like if you don't learn, you better learn by that age, from 27 and on. And I was going through a lot of womb issues.
Mm,
I was having dysfunctional bleeding for months. I was bedridden at times with
mm,
menstrual pain, and I had been to like 5 different doctors, of course, right?
hmm.
And they wanted me to have a hysterectomy at 30
Mm.
years old, and
Wow.
I had told my mother, and she was like, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
Right. And at that time, I
Hmm.
had started being in a hip hop dance crew.
Wow.
And yeah, I was for a few years.
Nice. Come on,
And
two feathers. Here
yeah,
we
kid,
go.
you don't know,
Big
but yeah,
Pisces energy.
100%. And in Vedic astrology, I could explain that to
Hmm.
yeah, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Dancing is a very big part of my life. But anyway,
Hmm.
so I had a dance teacher who has been tremendous for me. We're still very good friends.
Hmm.
And she asked me a very poignant question,
Hmm.
right? And she was just like, what is going on in your mind
Mm,
in regards
mm,
to motherhood, right? My
mm,
relationship with the womb
mm,
space, right? And even what type of relationships I was allowing into my life, because that matters too, ladies, right? Who we're exchanging energy with. We store so much of it
mhm,
in this space, in the sacral chakra,
mhm.
right? Which affects our creativity. It's not just the center for sex, it's also the center to give birth to the life that we desire,
Yes, facts.
right? It's our creation center. So asking me that question, and she was like, you need to meditate on the womb space, and she gave me Chinese medicine
Mm,
for the womb space, and within a couple of months I was able to prove all 5 of those doctors wrong, and there was
mm,
nothing wrong with me by the
mm,
end of it. So
mm, mm,
it just goes how much to show you, right? Like the words that
mhm,
you're thinking, the thoughts that you're thinking are
mhm,
vibrational as
mm.
well, right? It's not just about
Yes,
like instruments, and that vibration is running through your body,
at all
right? And
times.
at all times. And it's also going to affect the biological part of you in what kind of chemicals you're over secreting or under secreting, and which is then going to affect your organ systems and your body systems, right? So your body is always talking to you, right? Your body's
Mhm,
always talking to you about what you're experiencing like on a soul level. So my recommendation is don't always the first thing be like run to a doctor and take a pill. Like maybe there's something that needs to be healed, right?
Mm.
Maybe there's a wound or a fear or something that needs to be healed and journeyed through. And there are a multitude of tools for you to do that, whether it's sound
Yes.
healing with someone like me, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
journaling, whether it's meditation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's dancing, right? Whether it's yoga, whatever. There's so many different tools. Right.
Yes,
I
man.
really want people to get very serious
Yes,
about how
about the
they approach that
tools.
and their own
Woo!
forms of wellness.
Loose, we gotta touch base on that and
Yeah,
emphasize a point.
sure.
And I'm gonna say it the Y way. Sometimes you just gotta shake your ass, play some music, and
That's
have a ball
that's a
and turn,
fact.
and that is literally can save your life. I've
That's a
heard this.
fact.
You cannot literally exist in a depressive state if you invoke certain movements. You have
That's
to
right.
be literally depressed, meaning still and in your head. People don't realize we're stuck like the hunchback of Notre
Yeah.
Dame over a phone, and
Yep.
that is a one-way ticket to the
Pay
depths of
attention
hell.
to what your
Your
body
body
is
language,
doing.
yes.
Like some
Then,
clients I have that come to me, most people come to me
yes,
for relationship things because that's been a lot of where I've learned a lot of my
yeah,
lessons, right? So there's
exactly.
that
But you can
energetic
literally
resonance.
look at
Yeah,
this,
but it's
guys. I
like
got
pay
the space
attention,
filter. You can
right?
go in there and let
That's
it
it.
come
Pay
through
attention
and
to what
to
your
the
body is
body. Yeah.
doing when
Mm-hmm.
you feel empowered. What does your
Mm-hmm.
body do when you feel empowered? Right? And what does your body do when you feel disempowered? Right?
Exactly.
And then you want
Woo!
to use those body movements of empowerment, whether it's standing a little bit taller,
Yes,
shoulders a little bit more down, chest
exactly.
broadened, and you can make yourself feel better that way. You can make
Literally,
yourself, you have to practice
vibrationally,
it.
the
You
water.
have to practice it. And breath
Woo!
is important for that too, right? If we
Yeah.
what we understand about breath, right? Everybody talks about breath work, but like understanding what our body naturally does with breath though. Like when
Mm-hmm.
we're about to fall asleep, our breathing changes to what is called ocean breath, right?
Mm.
So it's
Break
a
that
it's a
down. Break that
shallow
down.
breath in the back of the throat, right? So that's when we're our most relaxed, right? So our breathing changes based on our state. So if that is true, right, the opposite can also be true. Then we can use our breath to change our state, right? So the ocean breath is really easy. It's an easy one without thinking about how long to hold the breath and blah, 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 whatever. If you breathe that way for a few minutes, you will your
Mm-hmm.
body will be like, okay, this is when I'm supposed to be relaxed. And you can bring
Mm-hmm.
yourself into a more relaxed state, right? And I didn't need to go take a pill for this
That's
or
the
a sleeping
key.
pill or this or that or an anti-anxiety medicine or whatever. It's just understanding that there are very natural ways for you to help yourself that are also free. But they don't want you to know
Exactly.
these
They
things
don't want you
because
to
that's the
know that
truth.
because that's what we're gonna spend
Yeah, you
we're
already
gonna spend a
know.
lot of times. Yeah, you hear that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it is really, really, really crucial to people to know that these resources are within
that's right.
you.
That's right.
This is what, this is why these institutions and these alleged schools, they're not doing anybody no good.
Mhm.
How are we not giving people that as a fundamental? Like you said, this is innate. You don't have to go to a
Right.
dance instructor or a doctor to know
Hmm.
that. Look at kids
Hmm.
when they do something, they
Yeah.
literally will bounce. Their
Mhm.
frequency changes with their voice. Ha 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 ha, right?
That's
Like
right.
they'll say, think of it when you see something nice, you're like, ooh, right?
A
You'll
lot of these
make
doctors
some.
don't know though. They're
Mm.
not educated in it, right? Like
They're
when my mom was going through
indoctrinated.
what she was
Oh man.
going through,
Yeah.
her oncologist, I even asked him,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, for the liver, like if I give her milk thistle and this and that. And he was like, oh, those things don't really do anything. He decided to give her a small dose of chemo. It
Oh
made her more sick and she died a
shit.
week after the first dose.
Oh man.
Right? Instead of trying anything natural. And my cousin, who really inspired me to get into Reiki through that situation, because he had done Reiki on my mother and her reaction to it. And my mother was indoctrinated too, right? She was just like, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to do what the doctor says. Like, I flew to Mexico to a holistic biomedical center and sat with doctors there and nutritionists and learned so much about diet and what we can do naturally to help ourselves, particularly with cancer.
Mm.
And came back trying to help her with that, but she wanted to follow this
Yeah,
doctor, right?
yeah. The mind has the
Yeah.
shackle.
And, you know, my
Man,
cousin did
that's so
Reiki on her
hard.
this one day, and her reaction was, oh my God, that feels so good. Right. And I'll never
Mm,
forget that as long as I live. Like, I'll never forget that.
wow.
Right. Her reaction to my cousin John doing Reiki on her stomach area,
Hmm.
which is where she had cancer in the bile duct and her liver failing. And she had said that it felt so good. And because of him, I was just inspired to learn how to do Reiki as well. And I'm a Reiki master now,
I love it.
also. Mhm.
Two feathers. This is a journey. I want to connect the thread. And this is so
Mhm.
amazing. I've learned so much about you even
Yeah.
in this talk, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing. And this thread has to do with healing. This
Yeah.
thread has to do with helping others find their way to themselves, right?
Yes.
I always say this is how you can tell when someone is not is honestly just I'm gonna say it, is full of shit. If they try to
Yeah.
lead you outside of yourself, but you are
Yeah.
pointing to things that ask you to see how these things are affecting your body. Everything when you set a stride, you're not here to say, hey, it's gonna dictate your day is gonna go like this. It's
Yeah.
how can you take that advantage and build a deeper connection and relationship with yourself? And
That's
it's a
right.
deeper level of awareness. And this is why I call this
Mhm.
woman a multidimensional being. I will not talk to her for months. I joked when we were on the phone. I said, "Oh, it only took
Yeah.
us 4 months to get here," but it felt like I'm always connected to people
Yeah.
because we literally
We
are
are.
connected
We
on an
are.
energetic sphere,
Mhm.
and we are moving in multiple forms of realities that are beyond what we see with our eyes and the five senses. But it is
Mhm.
through these senses, touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell, that we access the higher
That's
things.
right.
So we got these things to tap in. So I want everybody just to remember, stop your day, put your phone away, take a breath. And she said it. You don't need to take a breath work class. Everything is anything that tells you to go outside yourself. Just notice when you're feeling good. How are you breathing? You're breathing slow and relaxed. When you're
That's right.
angry, notice that breath pattern. You will notice physiological structures in your face,
It's about
motions, and things.
awareness.
It's that
It's about
awareness. And when you
awareness, right?
raise your
Like, you don't have to
consciousness,
be perfect in
mm-mm,
doing anything. I don't believe in that.
that is
I
it.
just think awareness is the
Aware of
first
what's going
step
on.
to changing anything. And you could fuck up one day and be like,
Of
okay, but I'm
course.
aware that
Woo.
I did that. So now the next time that comes up, I have an opportunity to choose better, right? Like, awareness, even if you're not perfect at stopping a particular pattern of being, right, it allows you the opportunity to choose instead of just operating on impulse, right? It puts you into more I love the word empowerment, right? It puts you in a more empowered state within yourself, right? Like, I recognize sometimes I still will have moments where
We
I'm
all.
almost triggered or
Yes.
whatever it is, but because I'm
We
aware that
all.
I
You were.
have those
Yeah.
triggers, I'm
You
like,
can
nah,
adjust.
I'm not going to give this energy, because that's not me. That's a wounded part of me from 30 years ago or whatever it is.
Woo.
And I understand that that's what that is. And I can hold
And you
space for
can
that part
bring
of
that and
myself.
let that go and release it. I
That's
learned through
right.
the Taino ceremony too.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Borincans.
Mhm.
You can release anything that comes your way. Of
That's right.
course, sometimes we feel the anger, the doubt, the pain, the fear. We're not
But none
saying
of those
we're
things are
human bodies.
yours.
They're not yours. They're just like clouds passing in the sky
They're
where you can
visitors,
allow them to
right?
be.
They're
Yeah.
visitors.
And just know that just like it came in, it will go out. And there's a great saying. This
And
too shall pass.
they're
But with your,
teachers. Like,
yes.
what is that telling you about
Mm-hmm.
yourself? Whether it's
What
an
you're
unmet
doing.
need, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, right? Like, just
Mm-hmm.
ask it. Like, okay, I'm angry right now. If my anger had a voice, what would it
Mm-hmm.
say right now? What would it want to say? Right.
Mm.
And become friends, like, with these
I
feelings,
love it,
right? No matter what
Lucy.
that they are, ask them. Like, I really don't like this whole talk about, oh, shadow self. Like, there is no part of you that's shadow.
All of you is
Stop
there.
it. It's all
Yeah.
of you, because the word shadow,
Indicates
right, means that it's
separation.
dark and that there's
Yeah.
still some sort of separation
Mm-hmm.
to it. What you really want to do is integrate all of it. Like,
Yes.
what is that
Woo-hoo-hoo.
part of me trying to
Mm.
tell me about maybe a need that is going unmet, whether there's an unconscious wound I have that needs to be explored, that came
Yes.
from way back fucking when, or whatever, or a philosophy I have that doesn't feel true to my soul anymore,
You
right?
let it
Like
go,
it's all
release that.
information. If we look at it as information, we can create a certain level of detachment from it that then gives more room for compassion of the self, which then gives more room for compassion for others, right?
I
So
love it.
the more we can hold space for these feelings and these experiences, the more we can hold space for other people's feelings and experiences, right? Our ability to do
Mm,
that for others is a direct reflection of our
do
ability to do it for
for
ourselves.
ourselves.
Hmm.
Lucy, let's take a
Hmm.
breath on that.
Yeah.
Woo, you came with
Yeah.
the bars today. I
Yeah.
knew it, right? Everything
Mhm.
has its alignment. I like you were one of the first people I
Yeah.
thought about when I was doing
Yeah.
these talks
Thank
because
you.
once again, it needs to be heard.
Yeah.
And I want to reinforce some of the bullet points you dropped because they were huge gems and nuggets. Go inside, y'all. I'm gonna
Mhm.
just say travel to inner space and make
Mhm.
that awareness. If you are aware of what's going on,
Mhm.
you can enjoy the movie.
That's
And
right.
it's not you. She also said, do not take it personal. It's like one of the lines in the Matrix says, well, if I die in the Matrix, do I die? And it's because your mind makes it real when you associate yourself with that.
Mhm.
Then we latch onto it and we create an emotional grip. A big thing, Two Feathers says, is this a part of ourself that's wounded that needs to be tended? Is this something going from our subconscious unawareness to our conscious awareness?
Mhm.
And is that knocking on the door so it can bring something forth so that you can release it and allow it to transcend and go? And it's not you. This is just something that is within passing. Accept all of you.
That's right.
Don't create duality or the separation with the shadow or those
Yeah,
other
I don't
things because
like
this
that
makes us
language. Yeah.
having a war with ourselves. This is literally duality creation. When I started reading a lot of the Buddhist stuff and
Mhm.
in forming it, the Tao, I love the Tao, and the
Mhm.
Tao would always talk about those things. And it said within the core of light is darkness, within the core of darkness is light. And they're
Mhm.
all doing the dance, like the yin
Mhm.
yang sign. They're
Yeah.
all floating in a flow state. And we are
Mhm.
always in a constant state of vibration, energy, and fluctuation.
Yeah,
So,
less
wow.
judgment, like seeing things for just as they
Indeed.
are, right? Like even if it's
Indeed.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
right? Sometimes we got to learn to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Bars.
And just like I said, what is it trying to teach you? Like that's real work in finding inner peace, right? Is
That's
being able to find that even in the middle of an uncomfortable situation.
Mhm.
We can create more inner peace, which is then going to be reflected back out to us. Like peace starts from
Wow.
within.
I love
So
it.
that's why it's so important to build that relationship with yourself. Everything is relationship. I understand people say a lot about the solo journey, the solo journey. Yes, you have to be with yourself, and but that's still a relationship.
That is a
You have a
relation, one of the
relationship with yourself. You
deepest.
have a relationship with the universe. You have a relationship with your neighbor, with your friends. Everything is about relationship, right?
Mm,
So like
mm,
we have to build that relationship with ourselves, with all
mm-hmm.
versions of ourselves, right? Because there are many versions of ourselves that exist. We're all
Yes.
fragmented in some way, right? So if we can build relationships with these parts of ourselves, we can come back into wholeness, and then our
I
vibrational
love
um, energy will change and will shift, right? And we'll experience the world in a different way, and the world will be fucking different, man. Like look at it right
Yes.
now, look at it right now. And I think people are, coming into more and more an awareness, and I think that's part of why this is even going on, is for people to snap out of it and wake up,
Yes.
right, on that sort of level as like a collective. um we got to do better, man. We got to do
I
better,
love it.
and the thing is like the power is within you, and it's fucking free. It's free. You
I
don't have
love it.
to, like I said, you don't have to go to all these expensive courses to learn. Like get a mentor. If anything, you got friends that have been through some things, like sit and talk about real things, right? And this, right, full circle goes back to expressing oneself and not being afraid to do that, and to say I don't know what to do here.
Wow. Two feathers. That is real. And it is real accountable and real aware. I have to drop the gems over here because
I
we got
love
them
it. I
coming
love it.
down. Yeah. And literally, these are all sensations, y'all. The colors you wear even choose. I love how your hair is pink now. I'm sure that had to do with
Of course.
setting yourself in a vibrational state, right?
Yeah,
And notice yourself. See what you're drawn to. See what foods you're drawn to. See
that's
what you're
right.
drawn to energetically with your physiological
Hmm.
body and get it in. Two feathers. I know, wow, this is going by like grease lightning. I
Yeah, it
love it.
is.
But I do want to ask you something about what you got going on right now. I know you're involved in a lot of things, whether that be personal sessions one-on-one. I know you've done
Yes.
poetry classes and
Yeah.
everything, but let us know what's going on right here out in the third dimension, and we
Yeah.
appreciate you so much and keep letting us know what's actively going in your practice and then a
Okay.
little bit more about what's on the plate for you at the moment.
Thank you. So right now I'm planning to do a poetry workshop for a like elementary school out in Long Island, again, to promote poetry as a form of wellness and expression through art. I have a sound bowl healing happening on March 24th at Astoria Yoga.
Hmm.
If anybody is around, please come through. It'll be 75 minutes.
Hmm.
So it'll be lengthy and full and nourishing. So I hope to
Hmm.
see some of you there. I am working, I started writing a book right after my mom passed about a lot of the things I learned from some of her conversations with me. And I put it aside for a while because I wasn't necessarily ready to go back there again, but I am now. So I'm going to start working on that as
Hmm.
well. Still involved with Women in Need PR, which is a nonprofit
Hmm.
for women experiencing domestic violence. But
Hmm.
we focus solely on holistic wellness there and teaching them tools to empower themselves. So if you want to follow us there and find out how you can support, we also do disaster relief there too. And so my plan really is to cultivate a program that I can bring into medical spaces for hospice patients and cancer patients to bring them another form of healing and wellness for free.
Wow, that is amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you guys, and make sure we're gonna tag Two Feathers in this post, and then you can look at her page. She posts a lot of her events there. We are also part of the Decipher community where we promote a lot of events.
Yeah,
So please hit us up, and remember, Luce, always email us to put it on the community
I
event
will.
page if you want us
Yeah,
to
thank
keep
you.
getting the word out there,
Thank you so
right? So that's the whole
much.
point of this. Now we appreciate it. And it takes repetition,
Mhm.
y'all. Want to
Mhm.
emphasize the thread. This is not about obtaining something that is outside of yourself. This is about making a deeper, deeper connection to what always is and what always will be you.
Mhm.
And it is there
Mhm.
within everything. I want to echo something you said earlier too. Your relationship with yourself is a direct correlation to your relationship with others. If you want to deepen the bonds you have with other people, take care of yourself. Do what
That's right.
makes you feel the most vibrant in whatever space that is, even if that's being on a couch, taking a nap, or doing whatever you got
That's
to do.
self-care too.
Have
Like
room for
sometimes I
all
need
of
a
it.
nap. I'm
Yeah.
tired,
Nah, I
and it's
love it.
okay to allow ourselves that, right? Like rest is productive also. Even though we
Exactly.
live in a society
Just
that tells us to constantly
tells
be
you
like on a
otherwise so
hamster
that
wheel, like not,
you get
right?
all the jittery, be juiced up on some stuff that got you
Yeah,
disaligned. That's
right.
so amazing, Two Feathers.
Thank
We're
you.
getting around to that point
I
where
know.
I want to hold space for you to see if you'd like to express a poem, a piece, or
Sure.
something of that of the work you do.
It's going to
I'm a
be
big fan of what
woman-based
you do.
because of the day.
Yeah, so
Um,
thank you. I
so
want to
we're going
pass
to
that
do
mic to you
that.
and then let us
Thank
know
you.
what the name of the piece is. And then, man, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mm,
It is called the Divine Feminine Shift.
mm,
I never chose to leave. Maybe that's why it comes as such a shock when the person we bled for, hurt ourselves for, stayed for, suddenly leaves with the callous strength we have been trained not to have. We don't know how to leave. We weren't taught to, but men are taught the very nature of movement, to conquer, to move on, to shake it off, to be a man. As if the art of letting go is only essential to their lives. Perhaps this too was on purpose, so women would never truly realize their strength, the strength in their ability to choose. Men have always known deep down the power of a woman, and so by manipulative design, we've been held hostage to their own projected fears of inadequacy and inferiority, all through the application of imposed gender role construction, which is not real. They teach men to go, to roam, to conquer, to assert themselves, to avoid attachment. Yet they teach those that carry the very force of life from within them to cower. to soften, to relax, to please, to reduce themselves to obedience, to carry the weight of guilt, a presumed wrongdoing, simply because we are the true leaders of life, love, family, and sex. Maintain guilt and virginity as if sleeping with someone would change our lives. That's how important men have made themselves, knowing full well it's our bodies and beings that change their lives. I will not apologize for this rant. It has been birthed from the times before my time. My grandmothers, great grandmothers, my elders. This aggression, this fiery language brimming with passion, is not to be dismissed for the ramblings of insanity. It is the generational suffering, the lineage of loss. It is the culmination of the stories of my female connections, both blood and spiritual, crawling up the back of my throat, of your throats, my sisters, demanding to be heard. This is the break in silence. This is the dawn and the night. This is the rebirth. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man.
What a powerful piece. 2feathers, you are bringing in every way. This is nothing but divine. I knew that
Amen.
you were going to bring a message and needed to be echoed. And I want to thank you as someone who represents the other half of the chromosomes, that we
Thank you.
need to hear these messages echoed and we need to hear them repeated. And it's so much love you're coming with and so much genuine awareness and empowerment, right? In so many
Yeah.
ways. And like you said, this doesn't have to wait for any other day. This is accessible
At
at all
all
moments. I want
times.
people to
Mhm.
feel that they have tools, and every one of these tools you have mentioned is free, is
Mhm.
accessible. So
Mhm.
please support. That's why I use this platform to just echo the volumes of the people I know, because I know the values within us. I'm
Yeah.
not before I was waiting for another thing or this. I was like,
Mhm.
man, I'm gonna just get them, hit record, send it out, send the signal, and whoever spirit feels called to come and share the message, it will
Mhm.
reach whom it is meant to on a
That's right.
vibrational level, and we get to emphasize the message and take things deeper. I know a lot has been going on this year, and I want to
Mhm.
talk to you about like what's coming up for you for the rest of 2024 this year, and the projects you've been working on or different things that you may be aligned with coming up in addition to the work you're doing within the community and your Reiki and your sound bowl and the amazing stuff. We'll make sure to put your events on
Thank
the community event
you.
page and DM us, y'all, if y'all want to join the Decipher group chat. We post all our events there. You can keep in tune, but please let us know what's coming up for you for this year and maybe even beyond, right? I know that
Well, that's what
you're
it is.
always
I'm
moving
really,
it.
yeah, I'm just
There's a
really
lot of
focused
shifts
on
happening for you. I
a
know.
lot of shifts. We spoke about that, and I'm just
Yes.
really focused on building, the information that I'm going to bring to particular institutions, because I really
Mm-hmm.
believe in sound healing. I really believe in its ability to aid in somebody's healing journey, no matter what the ailment is.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help shift the way that our westernized medical system approaches what they offer to people, right? I think we need to come together, both Eastern and Western medicine, and really look at people for people on a case by case basis and understand that each
Mm-hmm.
person may need something different, and medications and surgery should be a last resort, because there
Facts.
are these other forms that we can bring, like diet
Mm-hmm.
and herbal medicine and sound, to
Yes.
aid in that shift first, and mindset, right?
That's it.
Mindset is
And
going to be
it
the biggest
starts with
thing.
that.
It's
Yes,
going to
because
be the biggest thing. Yeah.
if you can't realize it's there, and it's I love that Orlando Brown clip. He said, "Grapes, you're charging us for grapes," and it's so
Yeah.
true, right? And
Hmm.
these things, and it's true what they say. If you want to hide something from a person, put it right under their nose. Just look at what's happening and don't believe what's being force fed, because once
Hmm.
again, we have no hatred for anybody here, but these
Right.
institutions and doctors and that, they've been indoctrinated by misinformation and they've been spreading information unbeknownst to them by systems.
Listen, Pluto and
Yeah,
Aquarius is happening.
it's all
It's
falling
happening,
apart.
right? And Aquarius is the
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Okay, Aquarius is community. It normally
Mm-hmm.
rules the 11th house in the astrological wheel. And Pluto is
Mm-hmm.
death, rebirth, and transformation. And we have the
Yes.
North Node in Aries, right? And Aries, ruled by Mars, is war and activism. Like, we are being
Mm.
okay, over the next 20 years, right? Pluto will be in Aquarius after it dips back into Capricorn later in the year. It'll, you know, be in Aquarius for 20 years, right? So this is really about, and Aquarius is also Black and brown people. So it's really going to be our communities that are going to be called to stand up and really help this change. Okay, and really like fight for something. And I don't like to use the stand for something. I don't want to use
Yes, there you
language
go.
about fighting,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But stand for something, right? Aries is the self, right? So don't be afraid to explore what you are truly passionate about and stand for that, even if nobody else is. Right? South Node in Libra, we're letting go of people pleasing. We're letting go of the niceties that way. Like
Woo!
we should see a lot more activism, artivism, I'm
Yes,
hoping,
let's
right,
go.
throughout this process. And so
Hmm.
many of you here that are connected to both Y and I and anyone else across the globe, we need you,
We do.
right? Society needs you, and we need you to put your stuff out there, to express yourself, and don't be afraid to do so, because it's really us that is the future, right? Like trust poets, not politicians. You know what I'm saying?
Woo!
So
Right on
yeah,
beat. Well, Luce, as
yeah,
we wrap up and get for this last 5 minutes,
yeah.
we do a little part to end up the show, which is connected to a little jam. You are welcome to join if you feel like improvising something off of it. We love that piece. Give us the name of that beautiful piece you did earlier on,
The
please.
divine feminine shift.
Nice. Please hit her up. I need that ASAP. That is a mantra and that
Yeah,
is an anthem.
thank
And
you.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
So, anybody in the chat, this is your time to ask something. We have a question mark thing with a circle. If you want to ask a question, or just type it in the chat, and then we will gladly answer that question as we wrap up. If you have any words or thoughts that came from Two Feathers Talk, please throw them in the chat. We'll create something on that. And Two Feathers, if there's any reflections you have or any messages you want to say to the people, and I'll create a little outro jam to this. But wow,
I
this was
just
so
want
powerful.
people
I want to say thank you.
to not be afraid of like vulnerability, and to not be afraid to allow your heart to open, right? So often we're hurt throughout life, and society teaches us to just think of the self and to keep the heart closed, protect yourself, and really all you're doing is closing yourself off from the beauty that could and is waiting to enter your life, right? Like we need one another. We need one another more than ever now. And you know, if a whole society and world could watch tens upon tens of thousands of people, you know, over 30,000 people die and stay silent, we're we're in trouble. We're in trouble. But I as a Sagittarius moon, I am an optimist, and I believe in people, and I believe in humanity, and I know that there's a lot of us that really do care and really do love and just want to bring love into this world through how we show up, and that looks different,
Woo!
right? And don't just because your form of artivism doesn't look like somebody else's. There are
Yes,
some people that are
exactly.
freedom fighters, there are some people that are protesters, there are some, right? Like there's a place for everybody, and we're all
Everyone.
playing our own role in this. So just don't be afraid to figure out what your authentic role is in this, and to just show up with all of you, because you're needed. Right, you're needed.
I love it.
Mm.
I got it. Little ring with show up and be yourself. Just show up. We all need some help.
Go ahead, brother.
We got it. So show up and show yourself some love. Today, right now.
And my only thing today is to not forget the first mother, which is Mother Earth. So please do something nice, whether it's go hug a tree, plant a seed, do something for the planet today, please.
For our mother,
That's
on
it.
International Women's
That's
Day,
right.
we are
That's
here
right.
with the legendary
Mhm.
Lucian, Two Feather. Berrios, thank you so
You're
much,
welcome,
Two
dear.
Feathers. Wow, this is such an I wasn't having the best day. I went out and did a workout to make sure to get ready for you, and then you just enlightened me with so much things. This whole moment and this download was captured with divine energy that you brought, and I want to say thank you for
Thank you.
transmitting. I always
Of
consider
course,
you
I'm
a
so
channeler
grateful to be
of
here.
bringing that source energy. I want to re-emphasize a couple points you made. Look at what's authentic to your energy,
Mhm.
y'all. Flow with
Mhm.
it. Don't move
Mhm.
against yourself. Accept
Mhm.
all parts of you and stop compartmentalizing
Mhm.
ourselves into this.
Mhm.
Trust in the healing tools that are omnipresent and always accessible
Mhm.
to your being at any
Mhm.
moment at any given time. Look for community. Seek that out. What you are, you cannot do this. These are global and world problems, and we've said it before. You cannot do these things alone.
That's
And
right.
yes, there is time for self-reflection and isolation, but take care of that love and bring that love into the world in whatever mediums you choose.
That's right.
Allow your things and your energy to lead you from one thing to the next and accept. If it takes you in somewhere unknown, allow it to go there. Flow with yourself. So many times we're moving against ourselves and there's something else. There's a real energy to surrendering and allowing things to happen and moving with that energy
Mhm.
and not against yourself. That saves you so much of your very, very precious chi. You're right
That's
there going and doing that.
right.
So just move with it. Look at the signs, whether that be astrology, self-awareness, mirror gazing, shoegazing,
Mhm.
whatever you got to do to
Mhm.
take a whatever you got to do to take a deeper look within yourself, because yourself is communicating to you. Your higher
That's right.
self is always guiding you. Your ancestors, your spirits are always with you. And just know that you can tap into that. Practice stillness. Allow that moment to reflect within you. Let go of certain things. A lot of this shit ain't even in all our control, but you could do
Yeah.
something to recognize where you're at and take accountability through being aware. Once you are aware, then you can allow yourself the grace and good spirit to just be who you are, as authentic as you can be. I want to say thank you, Two Feathers, for your
Thank
time
you.
and your wisdom and your work. We're going to tag you in this post. You guys hit her up and look at all the information. Remember to check in with us for the Decipher chat. Send us a DM if you want to get involved in any of these future community events. Please send them to us so we can get the word out and allow people to
I will
know
do. Thank
what
you
you
so
got going
much.
on. The work is so
Thank
necessary, Two Feathers. You are
you.
seen, heard, loved, and appreciated on
I
this
love you. Thank you
International
so
Day of Women.
much.
Love you so
Thank
much.
you.
Peace and respect. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.